In a forest, we see a boy with a blue cloak kill a monster using magic. As the boy leaves, we can see a red crystal on the ground. Later, in the Adventurers Guild, a man named Gale tells his friends about how he saw the slime kill a monster. His friends don't believe him and laugh at him. At that moment, a blue-robed boy with a slime on his shoulder arrives at the guild. The receptionist refers to him as Yuji. Yuji comes to sell some materials which he takes out of the slime's mouth, so the guild manager buys the materials from Yuji. Yuji tells the guild manager that he encountered a skeleton monster in the forest near the city. However, before the manager could react, an adventurer arrives saying that there is movement in the forest. The slimes tell Yuji that a large amount of monsters are heading towards the city. In the guild, the adventurers are worried about the people in the city. At that moment, Yuji offers to wipe out the monsters using a big spell. The adventurers accept Yuji's proposal. When the monsters arrive in the city, the adventurers stop them for a while, as Yuji organizes the slimes out of the city. The slimes and a girl named Dryad find a strange man in the forest. Yuji orders them to capture him. Yuji has the ability to cast magic through the slimes. The slimes use magic and capture the man. However, the man commits suicide. Later, a big wolf gathers the slimes and takes them to his battle position. When everything is ready, Yuji asks the receptionist to relay the order to the adventurers to retreat. The adventurers retreat. Only Galen and another adventurer are left fighting a big monster, and are saved by the big wolf named Proud Wolf. Once all retreat to the city, Yuji puts up a barrier covering the city and uses a great fire spell that kills a large number of monsters. The guild manager says that such a large spell can harm the caster. Yuji sees that he has not eliminated all the monsters, so he casts the same spell again, eliminating all the monsters. However, due to the large charge, he ends up passing out. When Yuji wakes up, the receptionist takes care of him and thanks him for saving the city. That night, while everyone celebrates, Yuji leaves the city without anyone noticing. At another time, the guild manager and the receptionist girl talk about the man they found in the forest and say he belongs to an organization. Elsewhere, Yuji is listening to them through a slime. Sometime later, Yuji and his companions arrive in another city. In the streets of the city, Yuji and his companions, which are the Proud Wolf and many slimes, are looking for something to eat. Yuji buys a large amount of meat in a store. While they are eating, a bell rings. The store owner says that it means that a priest from the central has arrived in the city. Later, Yuji arrives at the Adventurers Guild, where he accepts a team mission with other adventurers. His companions in this mission are Rhodas, Tina, and Lisa. As Yuji is a tamer, they decide to make him the scout. The mission is to hunt an earth dragon. In the forest, while walking, Yuji learns through his slimes that there are monsters ahead and warns the others. Rhodas rushes to the place and they find monsters. However, Rhodas finishes off the monsters quickly. At night in the camp, while Yuji sleeps, he has a flashback of how he came to this world and how he acquired his abilities thanks to the slimes. It is also shown that Yuji has the title of Sage. Yuji is awakened by the slimes, who tell him that Rhodas has left the camp and Tina and Lisa are secretly following him. Rhodas arrives at a cabin in the forest where he meets a group of men. Rhodas says that Tina and Lisa are goods, while Yuji hears him through a slime. The leader of the bandit group says that when the moon turns blue, disaster will strike. Yuji uses magic through the slimes and freezes the whole cabin with the people inside. It turns out that the bandit chief was a wanted man by the kingdom. Afterwards, Yuji builds a new camp while the girls watch in amazement. Later, while Lisa and Tina sleep, Yuji sees the blue moon, waiting and sees what will happen. In the city, the priest also sees the blue moon. Yuji, Lisa and Tina search for the Earth Dragon in the forest. At that moment they feel a strange wind coming from the Delight Canyon. While exploring, Yuji tries to diminish the power of his spells. Suddenly the sky darkens and a large blue dragon falls from the sky. Yuji and the girls decide to hide in Delight Canyon. However, inside the canyon they are attacked by the Earth Dragon they were looking for earlier. Yuji manages to defeat the Earth Dragon with a powerful spell. However, the girls believe that Yuji used the minerals from the canyon to kill the dragon. Sometime later Yuji, Tina and Lisa arrive at the guild building to complete the mission. The guild manager learns that Yuji was in Delight Canyon and invites him to a meeting. The meeting is to discuss how to deal with the blue dragon. During the meeting Yuji has a flashback to his previous life. The guild branch manager asks Yuji if he saw the dragon. Yuji says yes and shows them a drawing of the dragon. The priest who was present tells them about a legend about the blue dragon. He says that the blue dragon has the power to destroy the continent in 3 days. He also talks about how 30 years ago a ceremony was performed that would summon something with the power to defeat the blue dragon, and that it should have taken effect a week earlier. By chance Yuji arrived a week ago in this world, but no one else knows about it. Later after the meeting, the priest introduces himself to Yuji as Style, a priest of the Great Central Cathedral. He also gives Yuji a dagger that he brought from Central. The dagger has the power to focus spells on the tip of its blade. Yuji asks the priest why he gives the dagger to him. The priest replies that the gods have willed it. Later, in bed, Yuji learns from the slimes that the dragon is getting bigger. Yuji decides to go fight the blue dragon by himself. Later on the spot Yuji casts a big fire spell on the blue dragon, however the spell does nothing to it. So Yuji decides to use the dagger given to him by the priest to slay the blue dragon, succeeding in killing it. The next day, the manager of the Adventurers Guild tells Yuji that they no longer need to go fight the blue dragon, because someone had already defeated it. Later Yuji eats lunch with Tina and Lisa. He asks them which other city he should go to, so they recommend Ricardo City. Sometime later on the way to Ricardo, Yuji receives a call from Dryad, who tells him that something strange happened at the place where he killed the blue dragon. Yuji arrives at the place, then Dryad says that a large amount of magic mushrooms grew in the place and that they are useful to make potions. When they collect the mushrooms, Yuji asks Dryad to make some potions for him. Dryad remembers how she met Yuji for the first time. He saved her when someone used a red crystal to dry her forest. When they finish the potions Yuji says goodbye to Dryad. Later, again on their way to Ricardo, Yuji and his companions find a village covered in fog. All the people in the village have smiles on their faces. One of them asks Yuji what he is doing in the village, to which Yuji replies that he is just passing through. Yuji decides to leave town quickly, even though he feels that there is something very strange about the town. As Yuji leaves, one of the villagers speaks to someone through a crystal ball, saying that they will extract the dragon grace from Delight Canyon and says that they will cleanse that contaminated world. Later, Yuji and his companions are surprised that instead of arriving in Ricardo, they arrive in a place covered in snow. After walking a little more Yuji arrives in Ricardo City. The city is completely covered with snow. According to the guards, the snow suddenly arrived 10 days ago. In a restaurant Yuji is told that the town doesn't have enough firewood, so Yuji accepts a mission from the Adventurers Guild to collect firewood. Yuji uses his skills to collect a large amount of firewood. Sometime later, Yuji is eliminating monsters near the city. While doing so Yuji finds a strange ball in the forest. Dryad tells Yuji that the ball is absorbing magic from the surroundings, so Yuji decides to destroy it. Later while searching for more balls, Yuji finds a strange place in the forest, so he decides to destroy it with a big fire spell. The spell leaves a large crater where there is a subway entrance. Yuji decides to go inside to investigate. Below the subway entrance there is a structure built, however, because there are many passages, Yuji decides to send the slimes to investigate. The slimes find two men in black cloaks. Yuji asks the slimes to follow them. The slimes follow them to Messia's village, the village covered in fog that Yuji entered before arriving in Ricardo. Yuji sees through the slimes that all the villagers wear the same black cloak. They claim to come from an organization called Blue Moon of Salvation. Yuji sends the slime to steal all their documents and funds. When the people of Blue Moon of Salvation realize that someone else is in town, they decide to commit suicide to release a big black fire spell that burns everything. Yuji uses many barriers and also creates a new spell to contain the black fire. Later, Yuji returns to the town where the villagers were worried about him. Seeing that Yuji is fine, the townspeople decide to celebrate because the snow is melting and everything is back to normal. After the celebration, in his room Yuji decides to check the documents he stole from the Blue Moon of Salvation cultists. However, the letters on the documents disappear. Only one of the documents retains its contents, which is a list of names of the organization's assassination targets. Among the names on the list is Yuji's name. Elsewhere, assassins also see the same list.
I hope you liked the recap. If so, don't forget to subscribe and like it.